On today's 2Close2Call podcast, we discuss our favorite number 16 athletes of all time, and Pags and I both dive into the history books to come up with our responses for this number. We then transition into NBA All-Star Weekend, where we discuss the disappointment that the skills contest and dunk contest ultimately delivered, and how the three-point contest is becoming the crown jewel of the weekend. We then hop into the All-Star Game itself, where Team LeBron was able to come from behind to defeat Team Giannis, thanks to an MVP performance from Kevin Durant. After this, we discuss what we're looking forward to with the Sixers through the end of the season. We also discuss the Flyers' recent continued hot streak with 2 more wins over the Red Wings over the weekend, and what to look forward to in their next 5 games. We then discuss what moves the Phillies need to ultimately make to be considered contenders for the NL East as well as the National League. And we wrap up with some brief Nick Foles talk and what we think the Eagles are going to do with the franchise tag. We wrap up with the episode with our update on the Alliance football uniform tournament. We get into the championship game, which we give our picks for the ultimate winner. And then we dive into the results from this past weekend's fantasy football matchup between Pags and myself. I think you guys are going to like the update we provide with you there. None of this is possible, however, without our sponsor, the Ram King, the T-Shirt King. Visit www.theramking.com for all your T-shirt needs. Guys, Ram King's helping us out by making everything possible, so I'm going to ask you one more time to reach out to www.theramking.com to help him out. He does tremendous work. It is great quality. He can do any quantity that you need for any occasion that you're looking for. I know I always tend to mention spirit wear for teachers in elementary schools and middle schools, but every single one of them is putting together some sort of field day or outside field trip in which they need T-shirts for. So if you ever come across anything like that in conversation, let the person know to visit www.theramking.com. Type in the 2Close2Call podcast for where you heard it from and get yourselves the friends and family discount. Thanks again for listening. As always, we appreciate it, and come on in and laugh.
Coach, you were 5-79 last year. Why the playoff talk?
Well, we made a couple of key trades, and we got the funk.
Oh, well, glory be, the funk's on me, Bobby.
Keep that funk alive. Keep that funk alive.
Well, it's 1975, and we'll just be keeping the funk alive. So what that?
Aloha and hello and welcome to the 16th episode of the 2Close2Call podcast. I'm your co-host, as always, Miho, here with my man Pags. Pags, what's up, dude?
Another week to crush. Won some money this weekend.
Yeah, how so?
You know, I was sitting on my DraftKings and just like looking. I was like, what the fuck can I do? There's no NBA. I always play NBA. And I was like, what can I do? Oh, Daytona 500. Let me take a shot in the dark here and bet on some old racers.
Of course, since you know everything there is to know about the racing community.
Dude, I had no idea. It was like, pick 8 racers. And I'm like,
You don't even know 8 racers.
I don't. I picked Jimmy Johnson because I was like, oh, I know him.
Hey, Jimmy, is he still doing it? Let's go.
Dude, I ended up picking this R. Chastain. Don't know his first name. He came out of the dark. 3% of people owned him, and
yes,
he got 10th place. And bolted me into the money and won $15.
Hell yeah! What a weekend, baby. That's a free handle of Vladimir right there.
I got $1, put $1 down, and
hey, we're plus 14 if my math's correct there.
Yeah, but then I lost it all with the NBA All-Star Weekend because I couldn't pick the right freaking players in the game.
Yeah, Dirk Nowitzki let you down a little bit. We'll get into that later for sure in more detail. But as always, man, 16th episode. You know the game we play here, so hit the listeners with your favorite 16.
Mine, I usually do the whole out-of-the-box thing. I'm going to go mainstream here.
Get in the fucking box, Pags.
Mainstream, go with the original GOAT, Joe Montana.
GOAT. Ooh, I don't know if that's still a label to use.
That's a little debate there. Yeah, with Tom. Now he has a ring for his wiener, so now...
yeah, that's right.
No, I went Joe.
Are you a Joe Montana Niners guy or a Joe Montana Chiefs?
Niners. big Niners guy. Joe Cool, Bro Montana.
Bro Montana.
40,000 yards passing, just unreal stats. I was looking them up. 273 touchdowns. I mean, that was when defenses could pretty much maul you the whole way down the field. And
yeah, what was he, all the 80s or 70s? What was
70s
his heyday?
and 80s. 70s and 80s.
Oh, man, he was legit. Obviously, the highlight everybody remembers him is in the back to
Dwight Clark.
Yeah, with the catch.
Yeah, man. The drive against the Bengals in the Super Bowl to go all the way down the field.
Yeah, there you go.
He was fun to watch, and he kind of just did his thing. And I think the one thing I love about him is they tell that story about the Bengals.
What story?
They had to drive 90 yards down the field in the Super Bowl to score, and he comes into the huddle and goes, "Hey, that's John Candy in the stands." And everybody in the huddle's like, "What the fuck? This guy is just so freaking cool." And he's just like not even worried about what the hell's about to happen. And obviously now with Brady, somebody else to kind of take the reins. So those two are probably the top two quarterbacks of all time.
Arguably, I love that. It's a good number 16 for sure. So
who you got?
I kept it local in the Philadelphia market as always, and the number one greatest Philadelphia Flyer of all time.
I know who you're going with now.
Yeah, baby. Bobby Clark, right? That gives it away there. Mr. Flyer himself. I don't think that's a title they use, but hell, I'm giving it to him right now.
You heard it here first. You heard it here first.
Here first.
What was the Steve Nash one?
The
distributor.
That's right. Just tune in, baby. Giving people nicknames. They're going to be on Wikipedia soon. I'm going to update every page with the nickname I give them. But 15 years in the NHL, all with the Flyers. Was there through the heyday. Started in 70, ended in 84. So through all their cup runs, the center, the captain, Mr. Broad Street Bully, essentially. So I know he's still valued in the organization, and you see him on television and the radio, so he's still giving his input, but never got to see him in person, obviously. Only YouTube highlights I know, but as a Flyers fan, I know he pretty much embodies gritty.
Yeah.
Dare I say gritty.
And the Flyers fans can't get over it. That they're like set in the 70s. They're like, this is how we play hockey.
Right? We need speed and goals, not beating motherfuckers up. Although I did enjoy Wayne Simmons' fight this weekend standing up for Giroux.
I enjoyed that as well. The thing with Bobby Clark is he's got the fucking no teeth in the front.
He's Sean Couturier before Sean Couturier.
Yeah. And I watched that documentary of them on HBO, and I guess I never realized how good they really were. I mean, we weren't around. I mean, our parents were barely around at that time.
Fucking smoking the Russians.
Oh, dude.
Having them quit mid-game, that was amazing.
Yeah, dude, that was sick. And he was a stud, and now he was in management for a while and everything, so you got to give it to Bobby Clark. That's
Absolutely.
a good call.
I think those are two good ones.
Yeah, man.
16, a good number.
16. Hey, some of these numbers you can't find. I'm kind of nervous about 17. I don't know a single 17. Gonna have to do some research here.
Gonna have to look into it. But as we mentioned, man, this past weekend, NBA All-Star Weekend as a whole. I was gonna ask what you think, but obviously that's giving it away a little bit.
Oh, dude, it was brutal to watch. I was tuned in, skills competition, looking at our boys, and your boy looked like he had a shot for a little while there.
Who's that?
De'Aaron Fox.
That shit, dude. It's fucking brutal,
It's
right?
dumb.
It's so dumb. Like I said, last podcast, it's all for show. It's shitty. They were shooting half-court shots this year, so I guess, honestly, that made it a little more entertaining for me. Because I was like, what the fuck are we waiting for? Just shoot it. But it turns into a knockout game, I told you.
Knockout. Freaking.
Dude, I'm hitting other people's balls out of the air. If he's fucking shooting and I'm shooting, I'm not even shooting. I'm going, suck it.
Man.
Fucking.
Yeah, I'm blocking their layup attempt.
No holds barred, right?
You.
Body. We're going to have to get a ref out here to call fouls.
I'm watching it, and I'm like, all right, here goes De'Aaron Fox. Oh, he's fucking smoking him. And then all of a sudden, Trae Young pulls up from, the logo and just drains it. Right
can't
before
make the
De'Aaron
shots,
Fox's
man.
shot goes in.
We were spot on, dude. We had the speed element. He was in the lead, but they kept saying on the air, and I think they were right. It comes down to that jump shot and who can fucking make it.
Speaking of speed, my pick, Luka Doncic,
Oh,
did
yes.
not give two fucks
He
about
was so
it.
fast.
He was yogging.
The J wasn't even there. He was
No,
ogging.
Ogging. And it was just like, oh my gosh, I don't stand a chance. And he made a half-court shot against the first guy, and then I was like, okay, well, maybe. And then the second, Trae Young just freaking killed him. It was just like, okay, this is over.
Well, I was glad that Tatum won because Boston had been suffering. You know, they hadn't had a championship there, and I think it was like 2 weeks or so.
Whew.
So I'm happy for those fans, and they can relax and have another title.
Are they going to have a parade for him?
Probably next home game, right?
Yeah,
They'll
there
definitely
you go.
celebrate it.
Celebrate this skills competition that no one gave a fuck about.
Right, absolutely. But honestly, Pags, I think you misheard me on Friday's episode when we picked the winners of the 3-point contest because your boy Dirk took home a title of his own right that was even more impressive.
Yeah, hey, if we're going for most air balls in the corner, Dirk had it down.
Yeah, I did. I saw the one, not even close.
It
I was
was
like,
so bad.
I was like, yes, Pags, that's your guy. We're pulling for you.
Hey, Dirk, he had the money ball at the top of the key, and I'm like, all right, Dirk, let's go. Let's drain these. He didn't have it.
Yeah, he waited for the game to drain those. What was he, 3 for 3 in the actual game? So
Yeah, and then the dark horse ends up winning. Your boy it looked like you were going to win. Steph was freaking on fire in the first round.
Yeah, dude, he was the most impressive
hit 10
contestant.
in a row?
It was 10 in a row, and it was 16 out of 20 because he hit 5 out of 5 on the second rack, and then he went 1 for 5 down the middle, which should be the fucking one of the easier shots. And then he made 10 in a row, and again, so it was 15, 16 out of 20 there, and that was probably the moment of the weekend, that and the one time in the dunk contest, which we'll get into. But the 3-point contest, dude, it's becoming the crown of the weekend. They're going to have to change it to the nightcap fucking soon, dude, because this dunk contest, it takes a half hour, and it's 75 seconds of fucking dunks.
Yeah, I mean, I was into the 3-point contest. I thought it was
exactly.
a lot of fun, and these guys are unbelievable. It's the way the game's turning, and that's what Weber and Reggie were getting into. They're like, this is the NBA.
What was the guy's name? Joe Harris?
Joe Harris, yeah, from the Nets.
Yeah, dude.
Out of Virginia.
I looked up his background. Yeah, I had no idea. He spent some time in the G League for a couple years, averaged like a point a fucking game, and now he's dropping how many for the Nets at 40% and winning the 3-point contest. So shout out to all the white boys out there grinding. The dream is not over, baby. Let's go.
I just love how they were like Weber was like asking Reggie, like, Reggie, what would you do if you're in this situation? I'm like, just shoot the fucking threes.
Yeah, but are you a rack on the left guy or a rack on the right guy?
I would be on the right.
Yeah.
I'd feel more comfortable. I mean, I'd probably make
And would you go to the right or go to the left? Because they did go both ways.
Lillard started that. Lillard was like, I'm going to start on the right. I'd probably go left or right, like the usual.
Yeah, same, because the rack's on the right, shorter distance, makes more sense. But the question is, have you ever done that? And how many do you think you could get if you did do it? Now, I know your jump shot is smooth. For those of you out here that don't know Pags, my man's a big guy, but he's a jump shooter. He was ahead of the NBA curve, let me tell you that. In high school in 07, I'd have to yell at his ass to get on the block when we were playing pickup. And he's like, nah, man, Steph Curry,
threes, baby.
Let's go.
I wouldn't make any corner shots. Maybe.
That's the shortest one.
I would not make those. I'm not good from the corner. I'd probably make maybe 4. Person that would... Of our friends that would do is Timmy Nush. Shout out Timmy. I know you're listening.
There he is.
He would rain it. I don't know if Timmy would get all the shots off of the time though, but
right. Anything in the teens, I'd be good with like 15 to 20. Because hell, dude, who was it? Seth Curry got like 17 or something.
Yeah.
So it's harder than it looks.
My mindset would be, okay, miss these, but make the money ball. Here we go. You're gonna make one of 4.
Doesn't matter.
And it's got to be the last one. Hopefully we go in.
Hey, that's 10 right there, right? 5
are we doing high school arc or are we doing NBA arc? Because NBA arc, I might not make any.
Right? Yeah, that's a different question for sure, dude. But I can't even ask you about the dunk contest. Obviously, neither of us blessed to get up there and jump over somebody such as Shaquille O'Neal. So how did you think those 4 fared? Were you entertained at all throughout the evening?
No.
No?
I mean, that dunk over Shaq was awesome. That was pretty impressive. And then I saw that he did it in high school.
I did see that video, too.
Video came out. That
I mean,
it
makes sense,
school.
right? It's more impressive with Shaq, bigger guy, but still, like, again, Timmy, talking to him one off, he's like, how many fucking dunks have never been done? Like, what are they going to do at this point? I guess try to jump over a fucking fake plane.
The one that Dennis Smith was attempting would have been sick if he got that down. That between the legs with the left hand, that would have been tight.
Who was it? Bridges, too?
Up.
Bridges, Weber was like, I've seen him do this dunk. And we're like, well, none of us have, motherfucker.
Yeah, so shut up, Chris. If I'm ranking dunks, I'm going Diallo's elbow, then J. Cole off the freaking chair. Like, almost, if he would have slammed that, that place would have went fucking crazy.
That would have been the loudest it was all night.
Oh, man, he got up there. And his fucking big-ass poncho he had on.
I love it. But, again, you're a contestant. Not great and I picked another runner-up, yet a bridesmaid and never a bride, Peg.
As soon as I saw my guy come out with the fucking plane, I was like, I'm fucked. And then he hits the plane.
Yeah,
I was
it
like,
breaks.
you fucking idiot.
Oh, I loved
I was
it.
like, okay, my guy's done.
Oh, shit. But, yeah, overall, man, it's something you got to DVR. Like I said, you DVR it. There's literally 35 minutes of actual fucking action, and the thing takes 2.5 hours. I literally timed it, dude. There's 21 minutes in between the skills contest to, like, the 3-point, and, like, 16 or 17 minutes from the 3-point to the dunk. And I'm like, I don't need to listen to Charles Barkley fucking talk over these guys warming up here.
It freaking airs right after it comes back on. And then I woke up in the morning. James woke up early Sunday morning. I turn on TNT, and it's on again. And I was like, all right, well, I'll just catch the rest. What I missed.
Let me take some notes.
I was just like, I don't know what they can do to even fix it.
Well, the 3-point contest, like we mentioned, I think that one is as good as it's going to get because the top shooters actually still compete in the contest. Yeah, these are good dunkers, but they're not the names. So they're not going to get the reaction. I heard on the radio today that if LeBron James or Giannis had done the same dunk that Dennis Smith Jr. did, it'd be all over the Twitter sphere and social media, but it's just, the power of the person.
Right. And did you see when Del Curry went out and brought out Ray Allen and Mark Price and whoever the fuck Glenn Rice? It was embarrassing. Del Curry made like 2 shots, and then I'm like, oh, these guys are going to rain. And Mark Price, I think, made 1. It was just like, oh, God. I guess when you get older, your shot doesn't come with you.
That's the key there, owning the YMCA, just raining from the corner.
Yeah, man. I don't know what they can do. I think you're right with the 3-point contest being the main event because I think people were getting excited, and you're right. You get the stars out there to do it, and none of these stars are going out and do that dunk contest because it's embarrassing. I feel embarrassed for these people when they're out missing these dunks. I'm just like,
yeah, and like we said, everything's been done, so it's not like they're going to come up with something new, and they just do all this shit in fucking warm-ups anyway. So.
Yeah. I mean, even the dunk with the elbow, that was what Vince Carter did. He just jumped over somebody. So it was like, all right.
Just add on to it,
yeah,
right?
So
but the game itself was very similar on Sunday for at least the first half. It was pretty much a dunk contest in its own right until Team LeBron started playing a little bit of defense there at the end, and Damian Lillard decided he was open when he got off the bus, fucking shooting from like half court almost, and I guess I was entertained overall. Like, what the hell, right?
Hey, we didn't open the show with this. I'm off the schneid.
What happened? What'd you do?
I picked Team LeBron.
Oh, you got one of them, all right?
Woo,
1
baby.
for 3. Let's go.
It was entertaining. All I can think in my head, though, is watching these. I'm like, God, if they were actually trying, this would be so much fun to watch. Like, when they started playing defense in the end, I'm like, okay, this is actually pretty good.
Yeah, the fourth quarter is definitely something to tune into. The first half is just alley-oops and long shots. Although the alley-oop, the bounce pass from Steph Curry.
From Embiid to Steph to Giannis was tight.
That was fucking awesome.
Lillard hitting the 2 threes from the logo was pretty tight. It was fun. I was in tune to it.
It's pretty much what they can do with it, right? It's better than a handful of years ago. They're doing the draft now with teams instead of the East-West or USA World, so there's a little bit of buddy-buddy. And speaking of buddy-buddy, we touched on it last week, and it didn't seem to fucking work this time, actually. But Russ Westbrook and our boy JoJo were nowhere near the therapy table.
Oh, Russ wanted nothing to do with him. And I honestly think in the locker room, I bet Embiid went up and tried to make a joke, and Russ was just like, fuck you. And I'm like, dude.
Did you see the one clip? There's a clip of KD and Russ kind of going back and forth, just dribbling from side to side, and goes up for like a shot, and Embiid comes from behind KD, blocks the shot, and KD kind of starts laughing, shakes his hand, and Russ walks in between Joel and KD before they shake their hands, doesn't even fucking look at Joel, and disappears. So Joe was kind of like initiating, like, hey, I'm clearly in front of you. You want to like shake hands? And Russ just fucking turned and walked the other way.
I looked at the end, and he didn't even dap him up or anything. They were all dapping each other up, and they didn't even acknowledge each other. And
right.
I did like how Embiid and Simmons looked like buddy. So
that was better.
I was like, okay, they are laughing, they are hugging. I am
Let's be friends.
Loving it. Let's do this.
Friends.
We're the best friends that anyone could have.
Dude, seriously though, best friends. Good segue there without even knowing. Did you see KD and Kyrie Irving chumming it up during practice for what was it, Team LeBron?
Yes. Yep. They're
New York Knicks
definitely coming together.
Let's go.
I just thought of this when you said about people interacting with each other. I thought it was hilarious when Steph made that three and Klay Thompson fouled him, and then you just hear Reggie stand up and go, "This is how everybody else feels when we're playing against you guys." I was like, yeah, like Klay got a little taste of his own medicine when they're fucking playing the Warriors and they're making these ridiculous shots.
The behind-the-scenes mic'd up guys was solid from this weekend as well. Steph was like, I got Klay, I'm guarding Klay. So he wanted his buddy. And then Dirk Nowitzki making the couple of threes. He went to like Ben Simmons the one time. He was like, hey, thanks, bud. Thanks for not fucking guarding me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. It is what it is. You just
Exactly.
gotta take. You can't go in there expecting the greatest game on earth, and
It's just not going to happen.
it was fun. You got to look at it from the player's standpoint. It's a fucking middle of a grind of a season. They're going to have a little bit of fun.
Yeah, right? Not on vacation. They got to keep working.
Exactly. I'd watch that game again.
All right, that's good. It's hard to trace, I guess. Wait, you changed your name to McLovin? McLovin? What kind of a stupid name is that, Fogel? What, are you trying to be an Irish R&B singer?
Oh, they let you pick any name you want when you get down there.
And you landed on McLovin.
Yeah, I was between that or Muhammad.
Why the fuck would it be between that or Muhammad? Why don't you just pick a common name like a normal person?
Muhammad is the most commonly used name on earth. Read a fucking book for once.
Fogel, have you ever actually met anyone named Muhammad?
Have you actually ever met anyone named McLovin?
No, that's why you picked a dumb fucking name.
Fuck you.
Give me that. All right. You look like a future pedophile in this picture, number one. Number two, it doesn't even have a first name. It just says McLovin.
What? What name? What name? Who are you, Seal?
So, speaking of NBA season kicking back off, the vacation's over. Season jumps back up on Wednesday. Sixers kick back up on Thursday playing the Miami Heat.
Should be a win.
What are your expectations going into the final 26 games?
Well, I think obviously it's to continue on the trajectory that they've had in their past 4 games where they've been 3-1 with this new roster, and ultimately to continue to integrate the new pieces, establish more of an offensive identity, kind of understand the role that each one of the new addition to the roster is going to play, and figure out the rhythm of some playing time moving forward, because I know in the immediate future they have some Western Conference opponents coming up.
So I'll give you the next 5 games, and you give me what your expectations are.
Okay.
Home against the Heat.
W.
Home against the Trailblazers.
W, but a tough one.
At the Pelicans. They're a shamble.
Yeah, that's another win.
At the Thunder. Whew.
Yeah.
Speaking of...
we can't beat them, so
no, we
we'll
can't.
go loss.
And then home against the Warriors.
Again, tough game, loss, right? So out of those 5 games, 2-2 with a toss-up against Portland right off the top of my head here. So I guess what? Having said that, 4-1 will be an above-average rest of February.
Absolutely. The Warriors are March 2nd, so you got 4 games left in February, and then we're rolling into do-or-die time. And last year, this is where they turned that shit on.
Exactly, and that's where, what do they have left? Probably 20, 30 games?
Yeah, I think it's like 26.
Do you think that's enough games to fully come together as a squad?
Well, I heard a stat over the weekend, and it's just off the wall, but I actually thought it was kind of interesting. I was listening to D. Lynam on the radio, and she was talking about how, in her head, 29 games is how many games you need.
29.
29.
Not 30.
Not 30.
Well, that's too many games, obviously.
29.
Yeah, okay. I see that.
And it could be ironic, the fact that I think they have played 29 games, or they're going to be close to 29 games.
They say right around it, right?
She based it off the Miami Heat when Bosh and Wade got up together with LeBron down there.
Okay, yeah, they didn't start great, if I remember.
They were 9-8.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's not fucking great at all.
And slowly started to kind of put it together, and ended up winning 56 games that year. So
okay. Is there enough time?
I think there's enough time.
Okay.
There's enough teams that they're playing that they should be able to beat up on. But I'm more looking at the games. They have 2 more against the Bucks, 1 more against the Celtics. They've already played the Raptors, but those are the games you got to fucking win.
Now you bring those guys up, or those teams, and that's a good point, because right now if you look at the standings, we're tied with Boston for the 4-5 game, and I would very much like to avoid the Celtics in the first round.
I really need the Pacers to go back to either the Celtics jump up to the 3 seed or whatever.
What the fuck's the Pacers deal, dude? They drop like 2 or 3 right after Oladipo gets hurt, and then they run off like 6 or 7.
Yeah.
Are they still good?
I probably couldn't even tell you a handful. I know Thad Young plays on that team.
Sabonis, is he still there?
Yeah, Sabonis is there. I would say they're going to come back to reality, losing their all-star. Probably go 500 down the stretch, maybe a little better. I could see the Sixers playing them in the 4-5 game.
I hope you're right. Like I said, I don't want to see Boston. I'll take Indiana. They're a good team, but they're just...
Hey, we owned Indiana this year.
Exactly.
I think we were 4-0 against Indiana, and that was with Oladipo, and we didn't have Butler for most of those, or we didn't have Harris at all for those.
Yeah, well, 1-7 or 1-8 now, like we said, so that's definitely going to have to increase, like you mentioned. And something to keep an eye on as we move forward here. I kind of tend to agree with you that the Pacers will flatten out and stabilize at a little bit above 500, but fuck me, man, if they aren't like 8-2 since Oladipo went down, so I didn't see that at all.
What constitutes a failure this season for you?
Not making the Eastern Finals.
I agree.
I think making
a step further to last year.
Right, we made the second round. We have 2 more pieces, so honestly I should be greedy and say win in the East, but I look at these other teams and for better or worse, I tend to be a realistic fan and not like you, bet with what I want. I bet with what I think's going to fucking happen. So, man, that's the point. And if they lose in the first round, there's going to be all hell breaking loose, even if it is Boston, because you traded for all these guys. Now we don't have any future assets, and we're right back where we were.
Yeah, you're looking at who the hell we're going to sign, and it's like, well, we have 2 free agents right here. What the hell are we going to do?
If they don't make the Eastern Conference, I don't think you're going to see Brett Brown next year.
No, Brett's gone. Speaking of coaches on the hot seat, Gabe Kapler going into the Phils a little bit.
His seat's warmer than it was last year. I wouldn't constitute it as a hot seat quite yet. If they don't make any more moves before the start of the year and they run this team that they have at now, yes, it is a good team, but winning the NL East would still be above expectation. Right now, I think they're a fringe wild card contender.
So you think the Braves are the team to beat in the East right now?
And the Nationals still. They still have the arms. Yeah, they may lose Harper. Who the hell knows? He's still a wild card. But if he goes back...
What the hell's happening with that?
Dude, I don't know. And it's fucking... I can't even pay attention anymore. I'm exhausted scrolling through Twitter every day. And little birdies were telling us and others yesterday that the Phillies sales team,
everybody went into work.
In the ticket department, they had to go to work for President's Day here instead of having off. So kind of like... Well, why the fuck are you making me do that if we don't have anything to sell?
I'm with you with that. I'm sick of it. I can't stand it. It's driving me nuts. Going crazy, scrolling through Twitter, scrolling through Instagram. Like, everybody's like, something's going to happen. Something's going to happen. And I'm getting in the mindset where, like, all right, Jake Arrieta signed in March 12th. It's going to be mid-spring training when we're going to see wherever these guys end up. I hope it's in Philly, but we'll see.
I think if they add Harper, it makes them favorites for the NL East, like you mentioned. But obviously Washington, Atlanta, and the Mets have gotten better, so it's not going to be a shitty division again. But like I mentioned on our podcast Friday in the State of the Union for pitchers and catchers, I think this year is ultimately going to come down to the rotation. And we still have one stud, one guy who's on the decline a little bit, where everybody's hoping he gets back to what he was, where I'm assuming we're going to get more of the same from him, 3.5, 4 ERA.
Surgery.
Exactly. And then you got the 3 guys who everybody's saying, hey, this is your chance to take a step forward, but who the hell knows if any of them actually do? So even if they add Harper but can't pitch, they're not fucking winning anything.
Honestly, I think that is more why I'm more anxious for Harper, because I want them to pick up the other pieces if the big piece doesn't come in, like a Keuchel. Let's get it rolling. Because I think if they pick up Keuchel, you could tell me I'm completely wrong. I think they're not favorites, but they have a pretty good chance of winning the NL East with the roster.
If they add Harper.
I'm saying if they add Keuchel.
Just Keuchel.
Add Keuchel, have another arm in there.
I wouldn't make them the favorite in that case. It certainly bolsters them and wins a few more games, which would put them right in the wild card mix, but it would increase their odds. I would probably still put my money on Washington or Atlanta if they just add Keuchel, but certainly Keuchel and Harper, now I think you're talking possibly NL champions and winning the pennant. So that's, to your point, it's the first domino, and who the fuck knows when it's going to fall.
In the meantime, we got another team in the city. They won a home this past weekend with the Red Wings.
Yeah, it took 2 from the Red Wings. However, their next stretch through the rest of the month here, their next 5 games are against 4 playoff teams and the Buffalo Sabres, who are right ahead of them in the standings.
Who are the 4 playoff teams?
They have the Lightning, who are the best team in hockey.
They're killing everybody.
They're like fucking 44-10. They're 20 points ahead of the second-place team. Follow that up with the Canadiens, who are also doing very well in the wild card. And then you got the Keystone State Showdown in Lincoln Financial, the Stadium Series.
Fun to watch, man.
Against Pittsburgh, the only team we just can't fucking beat this year.
I believe we have something else on that day, don't we?
What do we have?
Isn't that your daughter's birthday?
Haha, there it is. First birthday party. That's an afternoon affair for the birthday party, so I can watch the game in the evening, baby.
Always making sacrifices.
That's it. And then they got the Sabres, like I mentioned, and finish up with the Blue Jackets, who are in the 3 spot in the Metro right now.
Which is always a fun time to watch the Blue Jackets and Flyers go at it.
Right, but it is crazy, right? Hockey, you see, I think the Flyers were like 14 points out when this run started, and they're 12-1-1, which means they've gotten a total of 25 out of a potential 26 points. And they're still 6 points out of a playoff spot.
Yeah, you got to win 4 of these. And I'm talking win, not go to overtime and lose. You need to get 2 points, 8 points out of this, preferably 9 or 10.
Well, that's the problem, right? Their one loss was against Pittsburgh, the team they're climbing to, and they went from 6 points to 8 points instead of 6 to 4, and now we're back at 6, and you run in circles if you don't beat these teams.
Bro, if they go on a little run here, though, it's like...
They're on a little run.
I'm saying in these next 5 games, with these 5 fucking wild card teams coming up,
like you said, they got to win them outright. They got to win them outright because even if they win 4 of them, but the other team gets 4 points, you're only moving up 1. So that's the hockey rule. Do you like the hockey rule of the kiss your sister point for the loser in overtime?
It makes things interesting. I just don't like the fact that the win-loss, I can't just look at the win-loss and be like, okay, we're 2 games back here. Right. It's annoying when they go to, they're going to overtime. They're going to at least get a point.
So here's an idea for you, and something that's been floated around. It isn't original, but it's certainly not the most popular idea. But I say give the winner in regulation 3 points. Winners in overtime, 2 points. Losers in overtime, 1 point.
Love that.
Not bad, right?
That's
so
good.
You win in overtime, okay, you get an extra point. But if you win outright, reward the team.
Right.
Yeah, man, like we mentioned, it's been fun to watch them become relevant again because a month ago, me and you were going, shit, we don't even have to talk about hockey, and here we are, man.
Carter Hart, man.
That's it. Carter Hart.
He had his first ever back-to-back there.
Yeah, and Lehigh Valley, he was not good in back-to-back, so that's why he wanted to get back out there to kind of prove that he can win these games, and fuck, man, was he good.
Yeah, except for the whole giving up the 4 goals.
Sunday, he was good.
Sunday,
Saturday for 40 minutes, he was good. So for 100 out of the 120, he was locked in.
I'll take that. It's better than what we've gotten in the past.
Oh, man, that's right. But, yeah, that wraps up kind of Philly sports for the time being. The Eagles are kind of laying low. I know we have the Nick Foles drama unfolding. They exercised their option. He paid the $2 million back. So technically, as of now, he's a free agent. But starting tomorrow is their... I believe it's like a 1 week or 2 week window where they can put the franchise tag on him, and that's still something nobody really has any idea about because technically it's illegal, although it's more frowned upon, to tag somebody with the intentions of trading them.
That's a tough situation because you want to do right by Nick, but at the same time, Nick,
it's a business.
You're not on our team anymore, buddy.
Yeah.
It's time to get rolling here. I personally think they are going to franchise tag him. I think they've already had this conversation with Nick, and I think he very well knows what's going to happen. I think they want to control where the hell he ends up.
If they can, right?
If they can.
For sure. I agree with you there.
And that's why you're swearing at him?
I will continue to swear, Dustin. This jet ski ain't a goddamn toy.
Yes, it is.
Do you know what would happen if he would have dry accelerated this jet ski on land? He would have ruined it.
If you're really strapped for cash, sell the jet ski.
I don't tell you what to do with your money. Don't fucking tell me what to do with mine, okay? And Cassie, do not stare at me with those dead eyes, you church bitch.
Kenny.
Instantly, I regret saying that. That was a horrible thing to say. It's just, I'm Kenny Powers, and I'm very upset with how I'm acting right now. I just have a very hard time expressing my emotions, and I can't stop from yelling. So I'm very sorry. I don't mean to offend you, Wayne. You have fucking pissed me off, but I'm just very upset right now. So I'm going to go ahead and go. But I'm not going to stop yelling because then that'll mean I lost the fight. So please leave a key under the mat. I love y'all very much. Peace out.
So we just touched on Nick Foles in the NFL. I think that's a pretty good transition to the current football that you and I have a little bit riding on here.
This is what the fans have been waiting for.
That's right. We didn't bury the lead, right? That's what you're not supposed to do.
Exactly.
So we're ending with it here, and we're going to touch on first our uniform challenge, where we have our semifinal results and our ultimate uniform breakdown.
Make it 2 games I've won. Fleet and Iron advance. The Fleet had beaten the Apollos, and the Iron advance over the Stallions. Now we are in our championship round.
Have the Iron played a road game yet?
I don't think so.
We haven't seen the road uniforms yet, so you
not.
guys out there are still a little judgmental. Because those home San Diego Fleet uniforms, I kind of did a little bit of a double take. I was like, I may have liked the road uniforms better.
Yeah, the white was better. And the iron, I don't know if I'm going to like just plain old
gray or white.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to look like a fucking prison suit out there.
But at the same time, I don't know if I'm going to like the fleet white with the gray helmets. I don't know if I like that either.
Right? Too many
We're going
combos.
strictly home uniforms here. And the helmets don't change, so there you go.
There you go. So that's who we have, right? We have the fleet versus the iron here in the Uniform Bowl 2019.
Yep. And I'm going ride or die with the iron. In my fantasy league and in everything
I
else.
I like it. And because that's the case, I'll take the fleet. And ultimately, I do like the fleet more anyway. The iron, once again, very plain. I understand you guys out there are very simple-minded and like 1 to 2 colors like Pags.
Don't belittle us.
Don't want the millennial neons with the ships and everything. But it's the fleet, baby. Let's go.
Oh, man. All right. So we'll throw that up on our poll. You guys vote, and we'll have the results on Friday.
That's it. Keep interacting. We appreciate everybody who's voted so far.
Absolutely. Speaking of AAF football, we had our first week of fantasy here.
Let's go. How'd we do, Bags? I tried to keep an eye on it. You know, off the record here, we're not in any apps. We're going old school newspaper style. So where'd we end up? Why don't you take a run through of kind of position by position here and the points, and we'll kind of take a halftime to see how we're doing and let the listeners know where we ended up.
So essentially we did standard rules, point every 25-yard passing, 4 points for a touchdown pass.
6 touchdowns.
6 for a touchdown, 1 point for reception. This is a PPR league.
PPR.
1 point every 10 yards receiving, rushing, all that jazz. 2 points, minus 2 points for an interception, all that stuff.
We did a defensive scoring, you know, points allowed for points, sack, fumbles, returns, special teams, everything involved. So you guys out there have played. You get it. We're just letting you know. It's pretty straightforward. We're not going to do any half points or 0.6s, just round numbers and keep it simple. So how'd we do, Pags?
You want me to divulge the final score, and then I'll go through a couple highlights?
Sure.
So I ended up with 82.
Okay.
Solid. I was like, ooh, looking good.
82. That's a good over-under.
And then the iron fucked me on the back end with defensive touchdown for the iron, and Miho wins with 89 points.
Oh, 89, 82.
Close one.
Good game. I'm glad I didn't know. I would have been watching Sunday night a little more closely, fucking rooting for my guys.
Yeah. You had Charles Johnson for the Apollos. 2
wide receiver.
Touchdowns, 194 yards receiving, 7 catches.
I saw my boy Bagnananan scored. However, he was the only one who decided to tote the rock this weekend.
Absolutely. He did. Your tight end gave you 0, but the old kickers ended up screwing us. Nick Novak for me, 1 miss. I got an old -1 in the column.
Perfect.
And Koo goes 2 for 2 for you with 6 points.
That's a swing.
And yeah, that and the defenses. Apollo's defense got me 5. The iron got you 14. I had some solid play though. Jaquan Gardner got me 23. Trent Richardson 21. Ross got me 16. It was looking good for a little while there, but I'm just looking at my bench here and it's pissing me off because my quarterback killed it. 393 yards passes and 2 touchdowns and a 2-point conversion.
Another quality decision for you, leaving him on your bench. Well done, Pags.
Hey, you got Zach Stacy on yours. He put up some good points. 18 for the Express.
I was gonna say I'm looking at this here. I don't know if I'm gonna make any roster moves for Friday. Friday's episode will set our lineups again for the weekend. However, here it looks like I may have a move to make a tight end with no points, and then my other running back, Mr. Hunt, with what was it, fucking -4 yards, but he had a couple catches to at least get me in the positive there.
Yeah,
so.
he got you old 2 points there. So
I'm gonna stick with the squad I have. That's why we did the bench guys. We're gonna give them a chance here to establish themselves, but I'll take it, baby. 1-0 in AAF fantasy football.
Yeah, you take the inaugural game, and my team's gonna come back next week ready to go. I might make a couple moves within the roster. I don't think I'm going to drop anyone. I'll ride with my team. Maybe I'll be dropping my kicker.
There you go.
Nick
Novak.
Pissing me off. The only one I recognized.
Yeah, you got to go with guys like Koo and Young Ho.
Exactly.
Who you like.
Freaking kickers, man.
But did you watch any of the games, actually? Were you involved again? I think there was a ratings drop-off, kind of as we predicted.
Yeah, I wasn't intently watching.
Yeah.
But hey, I mean,
honestly, the only reason I was intently watching was this fucking fantasy game, dude. My wide receiver, McKay, I was watching, dropped a touchdown right in his hands, and I was like, hey, somebody has him. Is it me or Pags? Pull up our post. It's me, Mr. McKay. Fuck you.
You remember when you said Trent Richardson wasn't going to get me any points? He came in with a good, no touchdowns, but he had a bunch of catches and a bunch of yards. Yeah, no, it's something in the dog days of winter to tune into.
Yeah, especially February here before we get into March Madness, right?
Yeah, I saw our boys Craig and Zimmel were out at the San Diego Fleet game. Gonna have to catch up with them and see what the atmosphere was like.
Yeah.
It looked a little dead.
Not a sellout, I don't think, based on the post.
Well, the Chargers don't even fucking sell out their place.
Hey,
so.
the Fleet are playing in a bigger stadium
I
than
know.
the Chargers.
I know. Speaking of football, we had a little news that we haven't touched on.
Yeah,
in
actually,
the NFL.
National Football League.
Yeah, so you want to get into a little bit of that before we end this episode?
Well, we can start with one of the most controversial topics of the past week or two, and that is the Browns signing Kareem Hunt to a contract. Now, the connection there is the Browns GM was actually the GM in Kansas City who drafted Hunt, and he's from Ohio, so they're thinking if they get him closer to home, they can keep him out of trouble. But sometimes when you're closer to home, you tend to fuck with an old crowd and end up where you shouldn't.
If he fucks up again, he's just idiotic. It's just...
Well, we don't even know if he can play, right? Roger Goodell hasn't brought on his sentencing yet.
But if you're the Browns, why don't you make this move? There's zero...
It's just the negative feedback you're going to get.
I understand
publicity.
that, but once they start winning...
I mean, on the field, it's not going to matter, which we've seen a handful of times, right?
Wins cure all. And a city like Cleveland that is starving for a playoff berth, let alone... I mean, they go from 0 wins to 7 wins, and they fire their coach, and now seem to have their quarterback. Why wouldn't you add a dynamic piece like Kareem Hunt?
Yeah, if you can for super cheap, right?
Absolutely.
But again, it's just that drawback in the circus that will be training camp with all the media and the distractions that come with it. So, but speaking of distractions, we're going to stay in the same part of the fucking country. The AFC North, just a big circus this offseason. Antonio Brown tweets out, "Hey, thanks, Pittsburgh. We love you." And then it comes out that he won't talk to the owner. Now we will talk to the owner. And recent tweets interacting with fans, if you saw those over the weekend, where he said, Roethlisberger has an owner's mentality, and if you fucking say anything to him, it's a one-way meal ticket out of town. So what are your thoughts as a former player there, kind of hearing that on-field perspective? Did you ever have any confrontations from your days in playing in college? Was there one or two guys who you had to get the football to or it was going to be a problem?
Everybody's kind of a diva. It kind of goes back to what DJ was talking when we interviewed DJ a couple episodes ago. All these skills players have an ego. They want the ball. They want their touchdowns. And Antonio Brown is the best of the best. And in Pittsburgh, you need this guy. This guy's a stud.
He's leaving.
And there's no one saying that Juju can pick up the slack here.
You don't think he's leaving?
I'm fully on that. I think the Steelers are going to figure this shit out. I think this is just noise to be noise. Antonio Brown to be like, hey, I'm pissed. They gave him a ridiculous amount of money.
Right, but you think they're going to be able to figure it out, Brown and Roethlisberger? Because if there's any friction there, man, that's not going to work.
I don't think Roethlisberger cares. I think Roethlisberger's just like, dude, I'm old. I don't want to deal with this shit. Shut your mouth. I'll throw you the ball more.
He throws it to him all the fucking time.
I know.
Would he break records? Most 5-catch games in a row?
Do you call violation on Antonio Brown doing this?
No.
No?
No. He's earned this.
Out of nowhere?
I mean, has it been though?
He earned a contract and they gave him a contract.
Yeah. So?
What do you mean so?
What do you want from him? You want him to just shut his mouth and go to work?
Yes.
They're not slaves, Pags.
I understand that. Wait, I just want to say that I understand that.
So then what are you saying? He's not allowed a personality?
He can say whatever the hell he wants, but I think he's going to eventually shut up and fucking play.
Why?
Because I think that's what he's going to do.
See, I don't think he is.
With my gut.
He got paid. He doesn't have to go fucking play anymore.
Bold prediction that he's going to the fucking Niners.
Yeah, I don't think, dude. There's no way at Pittsburgh. All those fans burning jerseys, things like that, they're just going to welcome him back on Sundays when he doesn't practice Thursday or Friday, doesn't show up for the game. He just showed up 5 minutes beforehand. Get your ass out of here, bro.
I think the biggest violation is him bleaching his fucking mustache. It looks fucking stupid.
I'll agree with that. That's the reason to trade him alone right there. Yeah,
okay, we obviously don't know this guy. He bleaches his damn mustache. I don't know, man. It's just this is the shit in the NFL that I hate.
The off season.
Just fucking shut your mouth. You're causing issues. And that's why I'm so thankful the Eagles don't have that stuff. But with good players comes an attitude, like when the Eagles brought in T.O. I mean, that shit went down in a fire. And
Andy Reid was a guy who you thought would contain it, but just some people, man, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still sticking. I think Antonio Brown's going to still be a Steeler.
So they're only lose Le'Veon Bell.
I think eventually. I think he's going to stay eventually. He says, like you just said earlier, he's willing to talk to management now. It's like, okay,
step one and potentially
somebody got in his head and was like, "Yo, shut your mouth. And let's get this thing rolling."
Right, but anyway, that's probably a good way to wrap up the show.
Yeah.
I say Antonio's leaving. You say he's staying. Another thing to kind of keep our eye on as we move forward. But as always, we appreciate you guys, the listeners out there, giving us another 45 minutes of your time here today as we BS through some more sports. And find us on our Instagram page, Twitter, Facebook. We're getting more active out there, getting the followers up, spreading the word, and we appreciate it.
Yeah, man. 2Close2Call cast, Instagram, Twitter. Keep liking our stuff. Keep subscribing to our page on iTunes. If you listen to on Spotify, shoot us a little like there.
There you go.
And what was that other one?
Stitcher.
We're on Stitcher. If you're on Stitcher, get it out there as well. We appreciate everything you guys do. We're in the dog days of winter right now where everything's kind of slowing down. But right around the corner, there's an old month that's known for some type of tournament coming up. And,
March Madness,
I'm excited
baby.
about it.
Should be fun. It should be fun. So anyway, thanks again. Hopefully you're out there enjoying your President's Day. If you're off from work, enjoy it. We were out there grinding today, so unfortunately neither of us had to enjoy the time off, but hopefully you guys did.
Yeah, guys, have a great week. Kick some ass. Do whatever you need to do, and we'll get back to you on Friday.
That's it, boys.
Later, guys.
Peace.